It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Friday, August 1st. Well, that happened fast, August. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning. Could see peaks of sunshine this afternoon, high 76. You'll notice when you're walking out right now, it's a lot cooler than it has been. And then the weekend's just going to be beautiful. Saturday, sunshine, low humidity, high 82. And then Sunday, sunny, high 86. If you are walking out the door with us right now, it's 62 and cloudy in Katona up in Westchester County, 63 and cloudy in Dumont over in New Jersey, and it's 64 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Lots of your neighbors are bailing out their basement. Tears at the funeral for 2 more of the Park Avenue shooting victims. What's with all the power outages down below on the subways? Cops need your help solving a baseball bat crime in the Bronx. And another local lives to tell how they survived a lightning strike. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Strong storms causing flash flooding across the tri-state yesterday afternoon as those storms moved in, closing sections of major roadways across the city, in New Jersey, up in Westchester, out on Long Island. Everybody got a little bit of it yesterday during the evening rush. There were some spectacular moments. I mean, moments we just don't see that often. Thankfully, what we're being told is nobody is hurt. So we had these storms before where trees have fallen on cars, terrible things like that. And so far, no reports like that. But on the LIRR, you had this moment yesterday where the sudden downpour made the Bayside LIRR stop look more like it was a river. I mean, just floods of water coming through the train station. So they had to stop a train that was on its way there. And these passengers sat on the train for about 2 hours until they could be rescued off the tracks.
They don't call it Bayside for nothing.
When they said we had to climb down, I was like having a panic attack.
We saw a lot of water, so that was kind of unsettling, but you know, climate change is a hoax.
So those riders had to get off the train. Firefighters helped them off the train, off the tracks, away from the floodwaters.
I'm now getting hot. I'm getting sweaty. I'm claustrophobic. I have double vision, so when they said we had to climb down, I was like having a panic attack.
Yeah, I bet. About a mile down the line, there was more damage. A homeowner there doesn't know where they'll start the cleanup after a rock slide poured into their backyard. This was a retaining wall along the tracks of the LIRR in Queens, and their Ring camera shows this dramatic moment when that retaining wall failed and an avalanche of rocks came from the LIRR tracks, the Port Washington branch, into their backyard.
And it was just pretty frightening, to be completely honest.
I turned on the Ring and just saw the flash floods. It could have been like the Nile River coming through. It's like you don't know who to call in that situation. And from what I've been told, there's like a very small channel that everything can pass through. So debris gets caught up in there, and the engineering and structural team for the Long Island Railroad tries to do periodic checks, but I don't think it's been sufficient.
Inspectors from the MTA, they walked the rails to figure out how badly undermined they may be. Homeowners, of course, had worried about this retaining wall in the past because they've seen other things happen, water, rocks come through. So the MTA dispatched inspectors to assess the damage along the Port Washington branch, and train service on the Port Washington branch, as of just a couple minutes ago anyway, remains suspended. So they think there'll be reduced service later this morning. But as of this hour, right now, 5:04, it is suspended. Of course, we'll keep you updated on that as they look at the tracks. And then not far from there, drivers had to be rescued as flash flooding hit the Clearview Expressway. Handful of cars stuck underwater.
10 feet deep with cars in it and people sitting on top of cars, 6 or 7, and then obviously there's breakdowns up the way a little bit, and other areas down over here, and massive rainfall. I mean, I would guess that within an hour we got 3 inches.
Yeah, so Queens hit hard, so were parts of Suffolk County. Overwhelming the rain did. Drainage systems causing street flooding through several South Shore communities as well. Bay Avenue and Patchogue partially submerged with water levels high enough to disrupt traffic, pose hazard for drivers. Here's the mayor there.
We've gotten between 2 and 3 inches, if not 3 inches. There was an hour or so it just came down like. And that's probably when this thing filled up over here.
Yeah, 3 inches of rain is just too much for the drain system pretty much anywhere. So those severe thunderstorms leaving a mess on Staten Island as well yesterday. Roads drowning in floodwaters, multiple homes had bailing out water from their basements. In the Oakwood section of the borough, heavy rain began. This was about 4 o'clock yesterday. And right away, Highland Boulevard near Midland Avenue, that was completely covered with water lapping over the curbs. And then in the Stapleton section of Staten Island, emergency responders were on Bay Street helping some businesses that had tons of water flowing in.
It looked like a river.
It started pouring. The water started getting higher and higher. It went all inside the fix over here.
Today, I had customers inside the barber shop. And the flooding was inside. People got away.
Yeah, okay. And then this morning, there's still going to be a little of rain. You might be seeing some drops where you are, depending up. I know up in Westchester, it's still raining this morning. But these floodwaters, for the most part, have receded. And then today will be a day to bail out the basements, get rid of the mud. Boy, how many times have we gone through this drill during the course of this summer? I mean, I can't remember a summer where there has been so many thunderstorms and some really intense ones that have done tons of damage. So again, Staten Island hit hard. Queens was hit hard. Suffolk County was hit hard, and portions of Westchester as well. They're cleaning up there today. So it'll be a long day for those people. But the good news is we are beginning a weekend of what is just going to be downright beautiful weather, and we deserve that after what has been a very hot and humid summer. WABC News Time 5:08. Yesterday was another day of funerals for the Park Avenue victims, Park Avenue shooting. Family, friends, along with elected officials mourning the loss of an NYPD cop who was shot and killed during Monday's Park Avenue shooting inside that high-rise office building. If you could just bring down that music, Elias, that would be great. Governor Hochul was among those to speak at the funeral yesterday afternoon in the Bronx for Didarul Islam.
On behalf of 20 million New Yorkers, I want to bring the condolence of your entire family, your extended family. We are there for you.
36-year-old was off duty but working a security job at the Park Avenue building when the gunman entered and shot him. He leaves behind 2 children and a wife who was 8 months pregnant. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch speaking at the funeral and posthumously promoting Officer Islam to detective first grade. Mayor Adams says he feels responsible for the safety of New Yorkers, and he takes the officer's death very personal.
You ask yourself over and over again, what more could we have done? How could we have responded better? And you have a tendency to blame yourself. And I just want to say sorry to this family. This was,
as you might guess, a very emotional service inside this mosque up in the Bronx yesterday. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch giving an emotional speech and then speaking with the family afterwards.
Look at all the NYPD officers here and outside this mosque and across this city who stand with you. I stand with you. I am so heartbroken.
Thousands showing up for that funeral yesterday. And then there was another funeral for another victim of the Park Avenue shooting, Wesley LePatner. Her funeral taking place at the Central Synagogue on the Upper East Side, where another funeral had taken place on Wednesday. The Yale grad was a senior managing director at Blackstone. She was fatally shot in the lobby of 345 Park. And her family, as you might guess, just shattered with grief. Her 14-year-old daughter and her husband were among those to speak at the funeral and give what was a pretty powerful eulogy.
There's a huge, gaping, Mount Everest-sized hole in my life right now.
My mom was like my rock, and every time after school, if someone said something mean, something happened, I would talk to her, and I couldn't talk to anyone else. Nothing nothing else would make it better.
Yeah, it was hard to watch that eulogy yesterday. The White House honoring the victims of Monday's shooting. Spokesperson Caroline Leavitt says the president extending condolences to the victims, all 4 victims, of course, including the police officer.
Everyone at the White House is keeping the officer's family, friends, and fellow NYPD law enforcement officers in our thoughts and prayers. The president has always and will always proudly stand with our men and women in blue. May God bless Officer Islam and the other individuals who were tragically killed in this senseless act of violence.
WABC News Time 512. The White House says a lot of countries are reaching out ahead of today's deadline. In other words, last night they were reaching out.
President Trump is restoring America's economic sovereignty by reducing our reliance on foreign countries, boosting investment in the U.S. to the tune of trillions of dollars, and creating hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs.
White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt there says the White House prioritizing talks with its key trade allies. Several new deals have been announced, but there are no agreements so far with Canada, Mexico. More from White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
For the past 5 straight months, core inflation has come in below market expectation and remains in line with the Fed's 2% inflation target. Meanwhile, customs and tariff revenues have already totaled more than $150 billion since President Trump took office. I will never count out the president. You've seen him do it before. He cut 3 deals in one day very recently. So we'll see what happens. I do know foreign leaders are ringing his phone, realizing this deadline is a real thing for them tomorrow, and they're bringing offers to the table.
Yeah, so no last-minute deals, but tariffs under President Trump are set to take effect next week.
The president announced he has given Mexico a 90-day extension after he spoke with that country's president. Earlier this week, Trump refused to offer deadline extensions as he pushes for countries around the world to agree to trade deals. Deals so far have been agreed to with the European Union, the UK, Japan, and South Korea, among others. On Wednesday, Trump announced a 25% tariff against India with a penalty due to what he said was them buying military equipment and energy from Russia. A deal was also reached with Canada, raising tariffs from 25 to 35%. I'm Mark Mayfield.
513 House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says the party closely watching this GOP-led redistricting effort down in Texas. And he says they're backing state lawmakers who oppose it. Now, he sidestepped the idea of a quorum break like has been done in the past to prevent a vote.
We're going to do everything possible to support the Texas legislators as they consider the best ways to push back.
Now, in the past, lawmakers will just leave the state capitol so they can't take a vote. But now Democrats would face a $500 daily fine, threat of arrest if they decide to do that. The state attorney general in Texas, Ken Paxton, suggesting this week that lawmakers should be locked up in the state capitol for the rest of the special session, forcing them to sleep and eat in their offices in order to get these maps passed. Here's more from Hakeem Jeffries.
It's an all-hands-on-deck moment, and all options should be on the table to protect the people of Texas. We'll see what happens over the next few days, over the next few weeks. But the one thing I know is clear, that Texas Democrats are fighting for the people.
Yeah, interesting what's going on down in Texas. In a moment, we're going to hear from one of the families of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers and what they think about all of this dust-up about the Epstein files. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Friday. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Friday. Good morning to you, Noam Layden. It was a busy trade deadline day yesterday for Major League Baseball. A lot of names moving around, both the Mets and the Yankees, adding some more formidability, if you will, heading into the playoff run here. We'll start in the Bronx, though, with an update on the Yankees' score yesterday. Took a while. You had a 3-hour rain delay that held up action, but Giancarlo Stanton and Ben Rice homered in the first 2 innings, and the Yankees did beat the Tampa Bay Rays 7-4 on a busy trade deadline day. The Yankees made a flurry of moves, highlighted by the acquisition of 2-time All-Star reliever David Bednar from Pittsburgh for 3 minor leaguers. New York starter Marcus Stroman allowed 4 runs and 6 hits in 5 innings, and Gary De Los Santos struck struck out 5 in 3 perfect innings and was optioned to AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre after the game. Jonathan Loaisiga got 3 outs for his first save since 2022. Cody Bellinger hit an RBI single ahead of Stanton's 2-run homer. Yankees newcomer Austin Slater had an RBI ground out in the third, and New York won for the 4th time in 5 games since putting Aaron Judge on the IL. Up next for the Yankees, Carlos Rodon gets a start in the series opener of a 3-game weekend series in Miami. First pitch against the Marlins is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Yankee Stadium, with the Yanks sitting 3.5 games back now of Toronto for first place in the AL East. As for the Mets, they were off yesterday, but were as active as anyone else, loading up at the trade deadline. Anchored by bullpen reinforcement and a center field upgrade, all made without surrendering top prospects. The Mets acquired center fielder Cedric Mullins from the Orioles at the trade deadline by sending 3 low-level pitching prospects, none of which were in the top 9 prospects list. The Mets acquired center fielder Mullins from the... They'll try out their new toys, I should say.
What's that?
Orange and blue this weekend. Cedric Mullins is the big one. I'm sorry, I got lost in my rundown here.
Well, that's Friday. All excused on a Friday.
There you go. But they also added left-hander Gregory Soto, addressing a clear need for southpaw arm in the pen. They'll try out their new toys in orange and blue this weekend in Queens against the San Francisco Giants. David Peterson will get the start in Game 1 of 3 tonight, set for a 7:10 p.m. first pitch from Citi Field. And that is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick, 77
WABC News Time 519. The family of Virginia Giuffre, who was one of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's most vocal accusers, speaking out following comments made by President Trump this week. Correspondent Haley Jackson has more.
In a statement released overnight, Giuffre's family saying it was shocking to hear the president invoke their sister in his comments Tuesday on Air Force One, with the president saying Epstein stole Giuffre from his Mar-a-Lago club years ago.
Giuffre's family says the comment makes them ask whether the president was aware of Epstein's criminal actions and those of his associate Ghislaine Maxwell.
In a statement, the Giuffre family says it makes us ask if he was aware of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal actions, adding, "We and the public are asking for answers. Survivors deserve this." Giuffre's family now saying the government and the president should never consider giving Maxwell any leniency. President Trump has said he hadn't thought about a pardon for Maxwell, but notably, he hasn't ruled one out.
Virginia Giuffre, by the way, died by suicide back in April. The high price of pharmaceuticals has got the attention of the White House. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt says the U.S. pays 3 times the price for drugs compared to other countries. President Trump is determined to finally tackle that problem.
The president is determined to solve this problem and took further action today. He has signed 17 letters to pharmaceutical companies' CEOs.
Leavitt says the letters from Trump to the CEOs of several drug companies tells them that it's an unacceptable burden on hardworking Americans. The letters will be asking for immediate relief, and they include a 60-day deadline.
Extend the most favored nation pricing to Medicaid, guarantee most favored nation pricing for newly launched drugs, return increased revenues abroad to American patients and taxpayers, provide for direct purchasing at most favored nation pricing.
Yeah, it's never made any sense that drugs that we, for the most part, invent and produce, that we pay a lot more than they do in Europe or even just right across the border in Canada. Department of Justice continuing to go after diversity, equity, and inclusion practices.
According to a DOJ memo issued Tuesday, Attorney General Pam Bondi is prepared to restrict funds to entities that use DEI practices, which is likely to impact universities and K-12 schools. Bondi wrote in the memo, entities receiving federal funds, like all other entities subject to federal anti-discrimination laws, must ensure that their programs and activities comply with federal law. I'm Brian Shook.
522, the White House says Hillary Clinton approved of what they called the Russia hoax. Spokesperson Caroline Leavitt referring to the recently declassified documents from the Russia investigation.
Her campaign financed it. Again, she approved it. And the FBI and the CIA were both weaponized to, as our director of CIA has said, accelerate this hoax against then candidate and former President Trump.
She says the president wants to see justice served, and she hopes more news outlets will cover the story.
The president wants to see justice served, and he trusts the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to implement that justice and hold these people accountable.
Yeah, there's a lot of the Caroline Levitt in our newscast, if you might have noticed this morning. She held one of those press conferences where they tackled just a number of big stories. So here she is more. There are plans now set for a new $200 million ballroom at the White House. Construction will begin in September.
The White House State Ballroom will be a much-needed and exquisite addition of approximately 90,000 total square feet of innately designed and carefully crafted space.
Yesterday, the White House spokesperson showing reporters the renderings of the structure to be built in the East Wing, showing Greek columns and gold-encrusted chandeliers. It'll be paid for by President Trump and other private donors, and it'll be used for high-profile events.
The White House is currently unable to host major functions honoring world leaders in other countries without having to install a large and unsightly tent approximately 100 yards away from the main building's entrance.
Yeah, so when they want to do an indoor event right now, the most they can hold is a little over 200. This ballroom would hold around 600 people. 524, let's go overseas. President Trump's Middle East envoy in Israel today. Correspondent Matt Bradley reports Steve Witkoff is meeting with officials to address the situation in Gaza.
Normally, Mr. Witkoff doesn't come here unless there's some big deal in the offing, some ceasefire announcement that's about to be made, or major advances in peace talks. Now we know that that is not the case.
So this visit comes after the president spoke out against what was going on in Gaza, saying that people are starving. Witkoff's visit comes as the international outrage grows over the humanitarian crisis there and the stalled peace talks. So these talks could be a little bit uncomfortable because Israel pushed back against the thought that people are starving in Gaza.
We just heard yesterday from officials there that at least 30 people were killed waiting in line for aid. And this is something that we're seeing on a regular basis. People dying in huge numbers, trying to get food in order to stay alive. Mr. Witkoff might actually go into the Gaza Strip and visit one of the sites operated by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. This is a controversial U.S. and Israeli-backed group that has taken up the mantle of distributing so far a lot of the aid. This is now the fourth day since the Israelis have really just slightly opened the spigot of aid coming into the Gaza Strip. They're allowing other countries to airdrop aid. They've been bringing hundreds of truckloads of aid into the Gaza Strip. But officials there say, and UN and aid agencies say, this isn't nearly enough.
Israeli lawmakers continue to push back against the idea that people are starving in Gaza. Meanwhile, Canada is the latest nation with plans to recognize a Palestinian state. Correspondent Blake Sifton reports from Tel Aviv.
The move makes Canada the third G7 country to announce plans to recognize a Palestinian state within the last week, joining France and the UK as international pressure mounts on Israel over the starvation crisis in Gaza.
Now, Prime Minister Mark Carney says that Canada will recognize a Palestinian state in September during the meeting of the United Nations, the General Assembly. But he says the move is subject to reforms by the Palestinian Authority, including elections next year in which Hamas can play no part.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced Wednesday that Canada will recognize a Palestinian state in September as long as the Palestinian Authority holds elections next year without Hamas and agrees to a demilitarized state. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is expected in Israel on Thursday to discuss the Gaza humanitarian crisis, as President Trump says that the United States will work with Israel on a new plan to open additional food centers in the Strip.
Yeah, and as we told you, Witkoff is there. 526 from Israel. We go all the way back here down to Miami, where a Miami Beach celebrity hairstylist is accused of sending sexually explicit videos and texts to a 15-year-old girl who police say he was enticing into a sexual relationship. The teenager was a client of 37-year-old Ryan Thomas Pearl.
This is someone he has known since she was 13 years old. She is now 15, so he's at least known her for 2 years, knows her travels, knows her whereabouts. So we are concerned for the safety of the community, specifically the victim. We would be requesting an elevated bond in the amount of $500,000.
That was a prosecutor in the case. The judge set a bond totaling $26,000 with a condition that Pearl have no unsupervised contact with juvenile clients. Now, among Pearl's clients include Christina Aguilera, Haley Barber, and Sophie Turner. This is somebody who's really a celebrity hairstylist.
He may have other clients that are underage that, unfortunately, may be subjected to the same kind of behavior by this defendant.
I understand.
Yeah, right now he's in a lot of hot water.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Friday, August 1st. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning. Could see peaks of sunshine this afternoon. High 76, and then the weekend's just going to be downright beautiful. Saturday, sunshine, low humidity, high 82, and then much of the same for Sunday, just a little bit warmer. Sunshine, high 86. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. It is only 62 and cloudy in Katona up in Westchester County, 63 and cloudy in Dumont over in New Jersey, and it's 64 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 5:39. Thursday was another tough day as two more victims of the Park Avenue shootings were laid to rest. One of them including the NYPD officer Didarul Islam, who a ceremony held up in the Bronx at a mosque.
On behalf of 20 million New Yorkers, I want to bring the condolence of your entire family, your extended family. We are there for you.
Of course, that's Governor Hochul, the 36-year-old, was off duty, but working a security job at the Park Avenue building when the gunman entered and shot him. Here's Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
Look at all the NYPD officers here and outside this mosque and across this city who stand with you. I stand with you. I am so heartbroken.
The other victim laid to rest yesterday was Wesley LePatner. She was in the lobby, shot and killed by the gunman. Her funeral services held at the Central Synagogue on the Upper East Side. The Yale grad was a senior managing partner at Blackstone and was in the lobby, unfortunately, on Monday. Her family includes two kids, one of them 14-year-old daughter and her husband, who both gave eulogies at her funeral yesterday.
There's a huge gaping Mount Everest-sized hole in my life right now.
My mom was like my rock, and every time after school, if someone said something mean, something happened, I would talk to her, and I couldn't talk to anyone else, and nothing else would make it better.
Yeah, it was tough to watch that 14-year-old yesterday, and politics did play a part in some of the funerals yesterday, definitely for the NYPD cop Didarul Islam, as all the people who were running for mayor made an appearance at the funeral yesterday. Also, so did Governor Hochul, as you heard, and she's running for office re-election next year and clearly wants to woo the support of cops and cop unions. So here she was yesterday at the funeral.
The residents of this city and indeed this state must show greater platitudes and gratitude toward our police force. They have not received enough in years of late, in my opinion, and that must be rectified. They need our support.
Of course, Mayor Adams, speaking at the funeral, was the serving mayor of New York City. And when he went up front to talk, he wanted to acknowledge the other lawmakers, politicians in the room, but he left off a couple people.
I want to first acknowledge in the room today those electeds that I saw.
Yeah, so there was no mention of the fact that Zohran Mamdani was there. Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, all were in attendance.
And I apologize if I'm missing any name.
Yeah, I don't know if that was on purpose or not. The others, Cuomo and Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani made no public statements at the funeral, but Curtis Sliwa did, the Republican nominee for mayor. He says that Zohran Mamdani is not pro-police, and he wants to remind people of that.
Well, I know that Zohran Mamdani is now a born-again. No. I want to hire police. Yeah, he wants to hire social workers. If Zohran Mamdani was anti-cop then, there's a very good chance he's anti-cop now.
And Jim Walden, who's unfortunately sometimes left out of these conversations, he is running for mayor as an independent. He called for a 25% raise for New York City cops because Officer Islam was working that job at 345 Park to make extra money. And what Jim Walden says is, well, if we paid cops 25% more, he wouldn't have been in that building on Monday afternoon.
The fact that Officer Islam could not afford his growing family without taking a second job is part of the problem. It's a problem of priorities. It's a failure of policy. So let's end this kind of private security details and just pay cops what they need in order to live.
I'll be curious to hear what Curtis has to say about that. He will be hosting Sid and Friends in the Morning coming up in about 17 minutes from now. New York City subway riders dealing with delays again yesterday. Another power outage at the exact same place where it took on Tuesday. The West 4th Street station in Lower Manhattan impacted about a dozen subway lines, made people late to work yet again.
They're saying that there's a delay in the train signals. We know that it's the heat. This is one of the oldest train systems in the country. By now, you should have it figured out.
The issue mirrored Tuesday's outage, which involved signals failing to change from red to green. That was apparently what was happening again yesterday. And this all coming as we're all about to pay more to ride the trains. The MTA announcing this week that there will be a fare hike that goes into effect come January. So a single fare will go to $3. Fares across the board will go up between 4% and 7%, depending whether you're on a Metro North train, LIRR, crossing an MTA bridge.
Terrible. I don't know who wants to pay more money.
It is what it is. There's not much we can do about it.
There will be more people hopping the train, so that doesn't really matter.
It should be $1.50 with the service that we get. No air conditioner.
For some people, obviously, it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, Mayor Adams says the current fare already too high for many New Yorkers. Proposing a fare hike without demonstrating meaningful improvements, he says, is offensive to hardworking New Yorkers.
Rents are going up. People's salaries are not matching what the increases are in life in general. So that's going to be problematic for people. But then on the other side of the coin, some of the increase should go to fix the system.
Now, this proposed fare hike has to be approved by the MTA board, but we both know how that's going to end.
Well, I think they got to get the bums off the trains because we have to pay and they get on for free and they take up all the seats and we can't ride comfortable. It's either smelly or no space at all.
Nothing. They don't deserve my money. It should be free. They don't deserve it at all.
Yeah, terrible timing on the part of the MTA to announce those fare hikes on a week where there were 2 solid days where people were late for work by hours because of signal failures. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Ella.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Start here in the Bronx. Giancarlo Stanton and Ben Rice homered in the first 2 innings, and the Yankees beat the Tampa Bay Rays 7-4 in a game interrupted by rain for nearly 3 hours. On a busy trade deadline day, the Yankees made a flurry of moves, highlighted by the acquisition of 2-time All-Star reliever David Bednar from Pittsburgh for 3 minor leaguers. New York starter Marcus Stroman allowed 4 runs and 6 hits in 5 innings. Yeri De Los Santos struck out 5 in 3 perfect innings, then was optioned to AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre after the game. Jonathan Loaisiga got 3 outs for his first save since 2022. Cody Bellinger hit an RBI single ahead of Stanton's 2-run homer. Yankees newcomer Austin Slater had an RBI ground out in the 3rd, and New York won for the 4th time in 5 games since putting Aaron Judge on the IL. Up next for the Yankees, Carlos Rodon gets a start in the opener of a 3-game weekend series in Miami. First pitch against the Marlins is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Yankee Stadium, with the Yanks sitting 3.5 games back now of Toronto for first place in the AL East. As for the Mets, they were off yesterday, but were as active as anyone else leading up to and at the trade deadline, anchored by bullpen reinforcement and a center field upgrade, all made without surrendering top prospects. The Mets acquired center fielder Cedric Mullins from the Orioles at the trade deadline by sending 3 low-level pitching prospects, Ramon Gomez, Chandler Marsh, and Anthony Nunez, none of which were in their top 9 prospects list. They also added left-hander Gregory Soto, addressing a clear need for a southpaw arm in the pen. And they'll try out their new toys in orange and blue this weekend in Queens against the San Francisco Giants. David Peterson will get the start in Game 1 of 3 tonight, set for a 7:10 p.m. first pitch from Citi Field. That's your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. Let's go up to the Bronx, where a man remains in critical condition after being attacked with a baseball bat in the Tremont section. This was a week ago today on East 175th Street. Police have been unable to find his attacker, and so they've now released pictures of him that we'll put up at WABCRadio.com. But police say the 31-year-old got into some sort of argument with another man, which ended with him getting hit multiple times with this baseball bat. Now, a cousin of the victim says it had something to do with a woman and a woman who was trying to get away from this guy, and his cousin tried to protect this woman.
Said that she had a problem with a guy. He was having a scooter, and he just riding the scooter on the sidewalk fast, and she just asked him, like, what's going on? Why you keep going back and forth? You're gonna hit us or something like that. And he started screaming on her, and he started swinging on her.
Yes, so he is still has not really woken up from being beaten so badly, and so now they've released a video, and it's really clear video of this guy who carried out the baseball attack. So someone's going to recognize him and hopefully turn him in. 5:50. In a surprise move, Mayor Adams vetoing a city council bill that would have decriminalized illegal street vending, and he drew this swift rebuke from city council leadership. The measure, which passed all the way back on June 30th, would have repealed criminal penalties for illegal street vending. Here's Queens City Councilman Shakar Krishnan, who was the bill's sponsor.
Right now, street vendors face drastic consequences. It is crucial that we protect our street vendors, 96% who are immigrants, from jail time, criminal consequences, and immigration consequences in this moment.
Now, this bill would have eliminated criminal penalties for unlicensed street vendors, which can include a fine of about $1,000, even 3 months of jail time. Currently, unlicensed vendors can get hit with a ticket and penalties that include a fine of up to $1,000 and up to 3 months of jail time. Here was the mayor who was signaling earlier this week that he was going to veto this thing.
We must monitor, have a fair vendor system, but it can't be a free-for-all.
Now, the move sets up what'll be another showdown between the city council and the mayor, and the city council has enough members where they can override this veto.
This mayor has shown time and again that he will do the bidding of Donald Trump, cooperate with his anti-immigration agenda, and put New Yorkers in harm's way. We will not accept the mayor's veto. The mayor has picked a fight that he cannot and will not win.
5:52. Actor Keanu Reeves may soon be reunited with some watches that were stolen from him nearly 2 years ago.
No way! Yes way!
6 watches, including a $10,000 Rolex, were reportedly recovered in law enforcement raids in Chile and handed over to the FBI. The Matrix and John Wick actor is a known watch aficionado who would often give members of his production crews expensive timepieces. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was in the Chilean capital of Santiago discussing, among other issues, burglary crews from that region that target the U.S. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Las Vegas, they continue to see fewer tourists show up in Sin City.
The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority says visitation fell for the 6th straight month in June. 3.1 million people visited Southern Nevada in June. It was an 11.3% decline compared to June of 2024. It was also the first double-digit percentage decline seen in a month since February of 2021 during the pandemic. I'm Michael Kastner.
Hershey says it's preparing to pay over $100 million in tariffs.
During its quarterly financial report on Wednesday, the Hershey company said it expects tariffs to cost between $170 and $180 million this year. The announcement comes just over a week after Hershey announced plans to raise prices on chocolate. However, the company blamed the price hike on the increasing cost of ingredients instead of tariffs or trade policies. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
5:54. We're hearing more from this Patterson police officer who made an amazing rescue earlier this week of a woman who, we're not sure if she was trying to commit suicide or why. She was about to go over the Great Falls. Now, if you're not familiar with the Patterson Great Falls, they are the second largest falls after Niagara Falls on the East Coast. It's a pretty serious fall. So Officer Eric Elzin was on duty overnight early into Monday morning when a bystander bystander alerted him of this woman making her way down the rocks, headed into the falls. Well, he went into action.
By the time I got to the water edge, I actually saw her slipping what I thought was a deep pocket of water. So I just took off my vest because I wasn't trying to drown. And I just started running towards her.
So he has experience. I mean, not only is he a cop, but he is a lifeguard. He was a former EMT, so he says he wasn't scared. He took off that life vest and grabbed this woman, pulled her back over the gate and to safety. And if she had gone over those falls, no two ways about it, she would not likely have survived.
I just instinct. I don't know. I just reacted. I'm not working as a cop. I'm also an EMT, and I used to be a lifeguard, so I do this on a regular basis.
Patterson leaders, including the mayor there, saluting the officer this week at City Hall.
A normal thing for my members to jump in the river in the middle of the night. It was a very dangerous thing he did, but he did it for a good reason in order to save a life. I'm very proud of him.
The gentleman to my right is a real superhero.
He sure is. Officer Elzin, though, saying, no, it's just all in a day's work as a cop in Patterson. A small neighborhood sandwich in Windsor Terrace, Brooklyn, getting a ton of attention. Brancaccio's Food Shop has been named home to the best breakfast sandwich in New York. The recognition comes from a bunch of different food websites, including Chowhound. The owner, Joe Brancaccio, says he built this menu based on what he craves in an egg sandwich. So here he describes what's in the sandwich. We had somebody go out there and taste it, and they were like, yeah, this egg sandwich might be the best one in New York.
The entire menu is based off of just what I'm in the mood for. That's it. This is the pesto and eggs with prosciutto cotto, fontina cheese, and the pesto, house-made pesto.
Yeah, that makes like the egg sandwich I'm eating from Wawa look pretty lame. So the now famous sandwich has helped turn Brancaccio's into a must destination. He has like tourists, customers lining up, so much so that sometimes he runs out of those sandwiches before the day's out.
I came from Corona, Queens, 111th Street, right Flushing Meadow Park, home of the Mets. Go Mets.
For what?
To try these sandwiches.
Said, I just saw this on Instagram. I have to try the egg sandwich.
Yeah. The minute these things go viral, forget it. Brancaccio's, by the way, I mean, if you really want to head out there, it's in Fort Hamilton Parkway in Windsor Terrace. And after you eat that egg sandwich, and you might want to add some more years to your life. New researchers show it can be achieved in about a minute or minutes a day.
A study by Vanderbilt University Medical Center says brisk walking for 15 minutes a day has been linked to a 20% reduction in death from any cause. The study says speed matters more than duration. Scientists tracked nearly 85,000 Americans for nearly 2 decades with a focus on low-income black adults across 12 southern states, and the results were the same, regardless of starting health status. I'm Bree Tennis.
5:57 traffic, transit on the 7s. Here's Joel Nolan.
Nothing wrong with the Wawa egg sandwich, by the way.
No, but you hear that Brancaccio's one, you're like, that's an egg sandwich.
Yeah, I'm not a big pesto guy. I don't think I'd like that. Just give me some Taylor ham, egg, and cheese on an everything bagel, and I'm good.
You're a simple guy, Joe.
The top of my head blows off now. I can't eat those, but still, that's my favorite. Anyway.
I can't eat it anymore either, by the way. I'm right there with you. I was told.
Bad.
Doctor said, man, stay away.
But they're so good.
They really are. On that Kaiser roll, forget it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized, so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350-plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto. at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood.
Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.